Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce Peter Wei from VMware. This is going to be our second session for Breakout. Thank you very much, Peter Wei.
All right, guys. I want to thank QCT. Thanks for having me. If it doesn't work, you guys can hear me, right? Okay. All right. So I know it's been a long day. I've been to plenty of these sessions, and things tend to kind of get sleepy. So I promise my session will be quick, to the point, filled with lots of stories. So let me just quickly introduce myself. Peter Wei, I run business operations at VMware. I've been at VMware for almost 12 years now, a long time. So I actually, in my current function, I actually have sales engineering, partnerships and development, and also post-sales in terms of how we deploy our products. So it's kind of unique. I sit within the business unit. But I do see the whole 360 view of when we sell to the customer and when we actually deploy. I'm actually the same person that goes in at the beginning and also at the end. So better make sure that this actually runs well. So I want to share with you today, the talk is on Cloud Foundation. It's something that VMware is kind of rallying behind. And we made a big announcement at VMworld on this. But before I kind of dive into the product itself, I always like to start things from a customer and partner perspective and tell you some of the stories that I've actually encountered in the field with customers and partners. So I'll share with you a few stories first. The first one is a customer. I'm going to close this door. It's actually kind of noisy. Thank you. So the first customer is actually Medtronic, right? So you guys heard of Medtronic. They're a medical devices company. So we've been working with their IT department. When we first approached them, they're actually trying to standardize all their data centers worldwide. They have like 5 or 6 worldwide, one in each geo, in the US, EMEA, APJ. So their head of IT was saying, hey, how do I standardize on something, on a standardized platform, stamp things out, and I can roll things out really fast in a cost-effective manner, and I can also move things around seamlessly. That was the problem that she was trying to solve, and then she came to us, and we worked with her on that one. That's one example. The second one is a government in the state and local government. So this is actually pretty big. In the US, they have 26 data centers, and they're trying to consolidate down to 6. And in addition of consolidating down to 6, so they want to make sure they have the next generation data center, and they're kind of making a bet on that. But they're also looking at public clouds, and they said, hey, Peter, I heard so much about various public clouds. I heard about Amazon. There's this Google thing. They do great machine learning. But there's IBM. I'm kind of used to working with those guys. How do I think about this? They were worried about their investment, how to invest and still, not regret it later. That's kind of an important theme. Then I have another customer. They're a commercial-sized customer, so a little bit out of the usual enterprise customers that I usually work with. But they have a small IT team, and they've been spending a lot of their time just on the operational aspect of keeping the data center up and running. And the analogy you guys have heard of before, it's very common. They call it painting the bridge. Every time you start painting the bridge from one side, when you get to the other end, it's time to paint it again on the other side. So they spend all their time, 85% of their IT OpEx spend is on maintenance. So the person's like, hey, how do I get rid of this business, get out of this business so I can actually run and do things that are more important? Especially I hear things about DevOps, machine learning, all this great stuff. I just can't keep up. But it's not only just the customers, it's also the partners. I've actually also go into deals with lots of partners. They're at the table with me. Sometimes it becomes a little awkward. I'm selling to the customer. The customer basically says, hey, this is a great solution. But hey, wait a minute. Mr. Partner, this is too expensive. Can you reduce cost? The partner looks at me, I look back at them and said, okay, maybe we should take this one offline, right? So the partner actually were managing something for this particular customer. The customer saying, I've heard of all these things, and I want you to reduce cost. The partner says, I need to make margins. I need to make money. How do I continue to help service you, but yet still make their margins and their money? So these are some of the things that I face and see in the field. And so I want to start that off as with some of these stories, not only from a customer side, but also from the partner side that I've encountered, right? So with all these things, it's actually very simple. Basically, this is just saying customers and partners want things faster, better, and cheaper. That has not changed. The same slide 10 years ago when I first started at VMware, it's same slide today. That has not changed. What has changed is people are now worried about what kind of public cloud they should run on. If they make an investment, will they be able to recoup their investment? Would they regret their investment? If they want to move things out, what happens? Number one. Number two is, with all these additional clouds and things that they actually need to invest in, there's more exposure to security, right? So there's like, hey, how do I make things more secure? And then they hear about things like containers, about DevOps. All these things, if you boil it down to basic human psychology, it's basically saying, hey, please help me so I stay relevant, I don't lose my job. That's it. That's it. So with all these things that are coming up, customers are now not only thinking about private cloud, but also many of the other public clouds. So back in the days when I first joined VMware, it's about, hey, you make the investment with VMware, you can run on any server maker, HP, Dell, whatever you like, it all works. Now the question is, I have all these different clouds. If I make an investment in any one of these, would things work across these clouds? Would I have visibility? Would I have control across all these clouds? Not only in the private cloud, but also across public clouds. I not only showed here the huge mega cloud guys, but there's a bunch of other public cloud providers out there. IBM, Rackspace, CenturyLink. There's a whole bunch of them out there. And customers use them. So if I use them, and one day I decide to change something else, how do I know it's going to work? How do I know my investment's protected? How do I know I don't need to go up to my VP and my budgeting department, and I don't need to ask for another budget? I say, whoops, I kind of screwed up. Can we start over? Right? So in an ideal state, if we just look at purely from a solution perspective, what do customers want? Customers want a hybrid cloud platform that both works in the private cloud and also extends in the public cloud. It's the same platform that you have on-premise as well as in the public cloud. When you have the same platform, you have confidence that you can your workloads actually work both on-premise as well as off-premise. And you actually have visibility and control across all of them because it's the same platform. It's exactly the same platform, right? And they also want to do it in a very consistent and very simple manner. And they also want to make sure they can run it efficiently and save money. That's it, right? Full stop. So what's VMware proposing? I'm actually getting ahead of myself. I'll skip this slide. So what's VMware proposing? VMware is proposing Cloud Foundation. We actually have a product called Cloud Foundation. It sits in your on-premise. It also sits in the public cloud. And we launched this last year at VMworld. And so far to date, we have 116 customers. We have over $100 million in just software bookings. And we also have 46 customers deployed. So the reason why this works is Cloud Foundation is one of these products that when you buy, our whole value proposition is stands up your private cloud very fast. And that's why we have a good deployment to sales ratio, right? So you can sort of say, hey, 46-ish customers, 46 deployments, 116-ish customers. The ratio is pretty good and pretty fast, right? It's not sitting there as a shelfware. And plus, we've just been selling it for a year. right? So there's a lag time in terms of sales and also deployment. So that's one metric I look at. The second one is it's also the same platform that sits in other public clouds in terms of other public cloud providers. So if you're a customer, it gives you that feel and that safety. It's like, hey, I invested in Cloud Foundation. Now I want to expand to the public cloud, whether it's for bursting, I have extra capacity, or I actually want to migrate certain part of my workload into the public cloud, or I just want to outsource completely and give it to one of my partners to manage. I have the peace of mind because it's the same platform underneath. It's very simple. Same platform, it should work, right? So let's look at the ecosystem, right? So what does Cloud Foundation run on? This is sort of VMware's bread and butter. When we did our server virtualization, we said, hey, we run on all these hardware platforms. Cloud Foundation also runs on a bunch of platforms. You can sort of see what they are on the left-hand side. But what's interesting is we also run on the public cloud providers. Cloud Foundation is on Amazon. It's on IBM Bluemix. We actually have, a good chunk of customers on Cloud Foundation running on IBM Bluemix today. And we actually get the subscription report in terms of what they're running on a monthly basis. And these customers actually are also our on-premise customers. And that's one of the hugest value propositions that our customers see. And when they buy, they said, hey, I want a public cloud strategy. I also know I need to run my data center because certain things are running just way more efficient on-premise, but I want to have the option. And I want to know that you're supported by a lot of public cloud provider guys. So we just added CenturyLink. We added Rackspace. We're working with Fujitsu with a K5. So we're expanding both on the public and private. Because as my previous slide shows, it's just not a conversation about your data center. It's a conversation about your data center plus all these public clouds. And just as we've done with servers, that's how VMware made its claim to fame. We're kind of making the pivot to sort of supporting and being agnostic to clouds. And that's kind of our strategy, right? So very simply, maybe show of hands, most of you heard of vSphere, server virtualization? Yeah? So if there's one thing you walk away from this presentation, it's pretty much this slide. In 2007, when I first joined VMware, or pre-IPO, the thing that made VMware popular and famous was vSphere. What was actually called, Virtual Infrastructure 3.0. It precedes vSphere. That's where we are. Now today, with the changing landscape, with things moving to different various public clouds, and also standing up the entire stack very quickly, storage, networking, compute. That's Cloud Foundation. It's the data center operating system by VMware, not only for your on-premise, but also for the public cloud. If there's one thing walk away, this is it. This is just a good sort of slide done by the product marketing team, but there's something here. Because since I told you I actually do post-sale deployment, I can actually stand behind the 4.5 days. Because this is actually an average I took from all the 46 deployments I've done. The standard deviation is very small. So it's not a widespread range. But if you're interested, I won't talk about this slide. We can talk more about it. But basically, in some ways, it is kind of solving VMware's problem. I think historically, VMware, even with our stack, we took a while to kind of get this thing deployed. So, we're kind of solving our own problem here and making things actually even faster to get up and running. I also want to talk about these slides. These are just stats, but I'm sure you see lots of presentations with lots of TCO savings, lots of stats, with lots of customer behind it. These are just proof points for Cloud Foundation. Now I want to quickly shift over to QCT and QxStack. So when we first did Cloud Foundation, QCT was actually our first partner. They were the first company that we actually worked with, and they actually helped us develop Cloud Foundation. So that's why I had the QCT to kind of thank, because we've come a long way on this journey. And so they actually have the most experience with us. So I think that's very important to kind of highlight. They have the most experience with Cloud Foundation, with us specifically. And so one of the things that we are actually doing with QCT is we have done a bunch of things. They have a lot of solution centers here in Germany, in Asia, et cetera. And we're actually doing a very focused and targeted kind of push with these guys in the greater China region. And we're also helping them push it here, but understandably, QCT, they're kind of just getting into the US market. So they're still developing their brand. But in terms of experience and what they can actually do with us, QCT has been a sort of a long-standing partner with VMware. So I just want to highlight that fact. And so if you want to get Cloud Foundation, you can get it on QxStack as an integrated system. So I also want to kind of highlight to you what Cloud Foundation really is. So Cloud Foundation, VMware is a software company. Cloud Foundation is a software product. And you can basically buy the software product, and you already saw all the various hardware vendors you can deploy on. So you can buy the software, just like you did with vSphere, deploy it in 4.5 days or less on your data center in a rack format. You can do it on your own, purchase via software, or you can purchase via so that's the left side, or you can purchase via the middle, which is an integrated system, right? You can basically buy it pre-installed, pre-deployed, and that's what QxStack is. And I kind of encourage you guys to kind of look at QxStack. Cloud Foundation also have other partners in which we have integration partners as well. Obviously, we're part of the Dell family, so they also have a integrated system stack. But I think one thing, as I experienced, especially customers here in the US, they're starting to look at this is maybe for their primary site, they said, hey, maybe I want to go with a brand I know, like a Dell, HP, et cetera. But they also have a secondary site. And where the benefit of QxStack comes in, I think people kind of know them as more as a white box vendor. I hate to use that term, but because it's on Cloud Foundation, they're our first design partners, it's equally as good as some of these other platforms. So a lot of customers are looking at QxStack as potentially a secondary site, and you can bring it up and just try it. And you can see how that works. And with Cloud Foundation, again, we're hardware agnostic. So you can start off with one vendor. As you add other hardware vendors, you can actually mix and match because software sits on top. As long as Cloud Foundation, you can actually go, it actually doesn't matter what hardware you have underneath. So I want to highlight this specifically, QxStack, Cloud Foundation. I'll just kind of pause here and see if you guys have any questions on Cloud Foundation or specifically with QxStack. It's pretty clear. You guys know what Cloud Foundation is? The next generation data center operating system by VMware, running on both private and public cloud. Okay. Awesome. Thank you very much, guys. Oh, sure. Oh, in a Mac system, you mean? Okay, so that's something different. So you're talking about Fusion, right? So that's more on the personal side. So VMware, when we first launched, there's something called Workstation, and Fusion is the equivalent of Workstation on the Mac. And the Fusion basically allows you to switch between your Mac OS and your Windows OS. It basically allows you to run Windows on top of Mac, right? So I think that's more on the consumer side, and then workstation is more for the back in the days, dev test for software engineers to run it on their local desktop. This Cloud Foundation is quite different. This is now the entire data center stack. So you actually try to stand up a rack or a data center private cloud very quickly, so you can run actual application on it. So this is definitely more IT centric, versus what you're using is probably more consumer centric. Yeah, I've been to lots of doctors' offices in which my optometrist told me that he actually loves Fusion, but that's not what I saw. But yeah, sure. No problem. Any other questions? QxStack. QxStack, good question. I don't know when do you want to talk about it, but QxStack is basically the integrated systems form that you can basically get Cloud Foundation on. So think about, I'm trying to think of a good analogy. So I guess basically, QxStack is if you bought a complete, so if you actually buy a car, if you're really into cars, you can actually piece it together yourself, or you can just buy one that's off the lot, and everything works. That's what the integrated system is. It's delivered to you, and it basically you just sit in and you drive. You don't need to tinker with it and try to fine-tune certain things. Everything's already fine-tuned for you. It's actually one of the many integrated systems. There are other integrated systems out there. It depends, but I think it's a matter of how quickly and how fast you want something up and running. You want to start driving your car, or it's also fine if you want to fine tune it yourself. There's a bunch of people who are, smart enthusiasts, good with cars, and they want to tune it the way that they like. Or you just want to get into a Lexus and just start driving. It's already tuned, and suspension is, soft and easy, etc. Yeah. Any other questions? I told you I'm quick, so I'll give you guys time back. But just remember that one slide. That's all you need to know. If you guys actually want to learn more about Cloud Foundation, you can come talk to me. Afterwards, I figured I skipped all the deep dive. I will lose you guys, especially after a long day going through lifecycle management and all those things. Just want to send you guys the top level simple message. So, yeah. Try with QCT, try with us, try it, you use public cloud, you can go talk to IBM, any of the cloud provider guys. They also carry Cloud Foundation. In their managed service, they're selling it today. Okay, thank you.